Now, 50 years ago, we watched in awe as the first humans landed on the moon. This remains one of the greatest feats of science, technology, innovation. It's also a testament to the incredible power of human ingenuity, intelligence, and courage. It's particularly important for me because that's the day I proposed to my wife, Lulu. And I suppose we were both weakened by the impression of the man landing on the moon, you know, and I was very impressed, so I said, this is an omen, we have to use it. And she was weakened in her will, and she accepted, so it's a... that was 50 years ago, right? Now, today, artificial intelligence, AI, is really helping us to build on this achievement. It's giving us the power to map the moon, not only just to kind of walk on it, but to locate and count its craters, even to virtually moonwalk, even though we're not there. Now, in the not-too-distant future, AI is likely to propel us even further to new frontiers in space. And here on Earth, AI has the potential to catalyze remarkable progress on education, on health, on transport, on social protection, on communication, on energy systems. It can also help us meet our global ambitions, including the Sustainable Development Goals, the single set and the most ambitious set of goals and targets and indicators that mankind has set for itself. The Paris Agreement about climate change. But AI is also fueling anxieties. It's also fueling ethical concerns. Many fear that it will facilitate automated discrimination, that it will codify existing biases from the analog world into the digital world, and that then, because it's in the digital world, it's assumed to be okay, you know, and it'll stay there. Including related to gender, to race, even the justice system. Now, to realize the full potential of this promising technology, we need one critical ingredient. That critical ingredient is trust. Trust. And to build trust, we need human-centered artificial intelligence that fosters sustainable development and inclusive human progress. And I stress the word inclusive. Allow me to highlight a few of those priorities. Now, AI holds significant potential to drive productivity gains. It is helping people make better predictions, better decisions, whether they are a doctor or shop floor manager or farmer in the field. AI startups attracted over 12% of all the worldwide private equity investments in the first half of 2018. It's massive, you know, one single item. Although, of course, it's one single item in terms of the technology, then it is applied to a number of areas. It just reflects this economic potential. AI can also increase the productivity of science. This is particularly relevant at a time when we face significant global challenges. A persistently sluggish global economy, growing trade tensions, climate change, aging societies, just to name a few. More than a decade ago, at a laboratory in Wales, a robot named Adam became the first machine to discover new scientific knowledge independently. He or whatever, the robot, maybe it was a she. They discovered a compound that works against a drug-resistant parasite that caused malaria. But it was done by itself. Now, such advances, however, were not automatic. Significant complementary investments are needed to support them. Many firms do not even use relatively basic digital technologies, let alone AI. In fact, OECD analysis shows that only 11% of the small firms perform big data analysis. Only 11%. That means it's 89% of them who don't. Meanwhile, the growing prominence of AI in science is raising important policy questions. Access to data, high-performance computing, intellectual property, education, secrecy, privacy. Now, for workers, technological change presents great opportunities, no doubt. It can improve flexibility. It can help them with their productivity. It can help them to improve their earnings. It can also reduce exposure to dangerous, unhealthy, and tedious tasks. If a number of pieces of the work are, in a way, left to artificial intelligence, this can relieve the workers of tedious tasks. Provided, however, that they don't displace the workers. Across OECD countries, on average, around 14% of the jobs today, and this is OECD, that means the 36 better off countries in the world, if you will. They are at high risk of automation, 14% of the jobs. So 1 out of 6, roughly, 1 out of 7. And they will be displaced anywhere between 10 to 15 years. But that's not the end of the story. Another third of the workforce will suffer very serious disruptions in their workplace, in their work of every day. Now, if you put together 15% that is very probably going to be displaced, plus the 32 that are going to suffer very serious disruptions, you're talking practically of half of the workforce that is going to suffer some kind of consequence. It happens to be, remember, this is in the OECD, the richest countries in the world, happens to be the 50% of the workforce that does not feel comfortable with high technology or dealing with highly technologized jobs, that does not have the skills, and obviously the vulnerable half of the workforce. Now, there are also risks of increasing inequalities. In a rapidly changing world, lifelong learning is an imperative for everyone. Now, you cannot say, well, how is life divided? Well, you go to school for about 20 years or something like that, or 25 or whatever, and then you go to work for 30 years or 35 years, and then you retire briefly, and then you die. It no longer works like that. You have to continue, for the 50 years or 60 years that it's learning, yes, but then on the job, learning all the time. And then you ideally should retire longer, you live longer, you should work longer. And then after you retire, you still have, 20 years still to go, on average today, more or less. So it has dramatically changed the way we live our lives, and we look at our lives, and we can plan for our lives. And that is something that, again, artificial intelligence can help us do better or not, or maybe threaten us. Now, As I said, in a rapidly changing world, lifelong learning is an imperative, but particularly for low-skilled workers. Why? Because they are the ones who are more vulnerable. They face a higher risk of job automation. But what do you think? On average, they are 40% less likely to participate in adult learning than the high-skilled workers in the OECD countries. The ones that need it most have 40% less chances of actually getting it. So the inequalities will tend to increase rather than shrink. And therefore, it is something that policy has to address. Policy has to address it. Meaning public policies have to address it. To face such challenges, we must prepare, protect for future generations. The OECD's Learning Compass for 2030, this is an instrument we use, not one instrument, not like one compass, but basically a set of principles and research, etc. It outlines the need to adapt education so that our children become digitally aware citizens. When does the process start? From the cradle. Today, it's unavoidable. This means going beyond literacy and numeracy. We were so happy if the students got good scores on the PISA test, at 15 and 16-year-olds. Well, we have to go beyond literacy, numeracy, and we have to foster data, and we have to foster digital literacy, not just literacy in general. But having technical expertise and training a new generation of data scientists, digital experts, not enough. It will also be crucial to teach them social and emotional skills, as well as a sense of responsibility in terms of what to do with what they know, but also a very, very high dose in content of ethics. You would be surprised. We were once discussing whether the OECD should get or not get, a few years ago, into the question of digital and artificial intelligence, etc. One of the members said, yes, but what we should not do at the OECD is deal with the question of ethics. So he said, yes, we can do artificial intelligence, but not deal with ethics. You say, ethics is the starting point when you're going to look at artificial intelligence. Ethics is the big red line in the floor that divides what you do and what you should not do with this kind of knowledge and information and technology. Because in the end, that's what it is. It's a technology, it's a tool. But what you do with it depends on you, depends on us. And it has to do with the policies that we adopt. So the question of, it can accelerate the transition to a circular economy. Yes, it can reduce environmental pressures and the risks of raw material supply shocks by optimizing. How are we going to deal with it? AI can help improve industrial production by remaking physical assets more intelligent and boosting data-driven decision-making. This will enhance productive maintenance, helping firms to extend product life, minimize waste, optimize the performance of their systems and processes. Again, wonderful, extraordinary potential to make our livelihoods better. But AI is also spurring innovative environmental policy approaches. The single greatest intergenerational responsibility that we have today is to inherit to you and from you to your children at least a planet that is as good as we found it. I'm afraid we're not doing a wonderful job for you, and certainly you have to make sure that you do a better job than we're doing now. But now the UK, for example, is working with industry to develop an electronic waste tracking system that records all waste movements throughout the economy. I mean, it's incredible. But now it becomes possible. The whole idea of tracking all the movements of waste would have been simply unimaginable. Now it's possible. The system focuses on boosting compliance, reducing waste crime by detecting illegal dumping and landfill avoidance. However, the digitalization of the circular economy can also have unintended environmental consequences. Rebound effects by increased levels of production and increased levels of consumption of circular activities, lagging regulation. So things move a lot faster than the governments regulate them, and therefore there is a conflict between the two. These are the types of risks. Now, the OECD recognizes that actions at the margin will not be enough to harness artificial intelligence for sustainable development. We need a comprehensive approach. In May, this last May only, we launched the OECD recommendation on artificial intelligence. The idea was to promote the responsible stewardship of what we call trustworthy artificial intelligence. Now, this recommendation, which represents the first ever set of intergovernmental principles on artificial intelligence. It includes technical definitions, principles for the responsible stewardship of this trustworthy AI, human-centered values, fairness, transparency, explainability, robustness, accountability. There's some recommendations on how actually countries should address the issue, advice for international cooperation. Oh, we were very proud and very happy. It took a couple of years of hard work to get to these recommendations. And then we had about 50 or 60 specialists and experts that helped us put it together. And then we did it to the committee of this and the committee of that, and then the council of this and the council of that. And then we took it to the G20. This is this governance group that, actually the G20 is not 20. It was 19 for a long time. We could never find the 20th country. But you can always count on the European Union to get in there, and they were the 20th, but they were not originally meant to be. They could be on the side, but not to be. But we had a big discussion between whether it was going to be, which country, and then we just left it at that. And today there's about 25. But in this G20, what they did is they took the OECD artificial intelligence principles, and they called them the G20 artificial intelligence principles. And we were so proud. We were delighted that it was a big contribution to this important group of countries. And I like to say that I think it meant that they were looking for this. They had in the agenda, but it was not very obvious. And then when we produced this contribution, they took it and they ran with it. We'll continue to advance multi-stakeholder collaboration on AI. The launch of the OECD Artificial Intelligence Observatory later this year. This initiative will facilitate the development of evidence and practical guidance for policymakers, act as a hub for the OECD work on AI, focusing on the interplay between AI and productivity, jobs, skills, and trust with a big capital T. the trust, the trust, the trust. We're also working on labor market challenges having to do with AI. The OECD's 2019 employment outlook, our skills outlook, all put forward a transition agenda for a future of work that actually works for all. And the key of a future that works for all is precisely how to make sure that technology helps us to build this transition. So, dear friends, Masayoshi Son, he's the founder of SoftBank, big bank in Japan, and he said of AI, if we misuse it, it's a risk. If we use it in good spirits, it will be our partner for a better life. Well, we must harness the efficiency and intelligence of AI to build a better world where growth is inherently sustainable, but it's also inclusive and therefore benefits all. So let's give people the tools. Remember, it's tools. This is not a policy in and of itself. Artificial intelligence is a tool, but it can help us if we apply it well. Give people the tools to succeed in the world of tomorrow. Let's use this potential to protect our planet. Let's harness progress and innovation to make it people-centered. The OECD looks forward to strengthening our engagement with the London Business School as we work together to design, develop, and deliver better artificial intelligence policies for better lives. Thank you very much.